Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tea and Crystals podcast. I am T.
And I'm Crystal.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an action-packed episode for you today. Crystal and I had a pre-show meeting, and we have both come to the table with some very, very exciting things to share with you all, and I cannot wait to get into them. But before we do, Crystal, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Our socials have been kinder to me this week. Probably
Yeah.
because I don't think I posted anything problematic, which was
Yeah.
nice. So it was a nice little break.
Yeah.
I just spent some family time. Saw my nephew. I know, your kid is too young for this yet, but my nephew loves to kind of exaggerate his injuries. Like he will come up to me. He'll come up to me to show me like a cut or something like that he got from like playing his games and stuff like that. And he'll be like, Auntie, look. And he's like pointing. He was like, I got hurt. And I'm like squinting. I'm like, oh, buddy, that must have really hurt. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. But I didn't cry. I was good.
That is so real for especially boys at his age, because you will really get a scrape on your knee and be like, I lost it and like, you know what I'm saying? They be so dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, I stepped on a grenade and next thing I knew,
my leg was gone.
My buddy Caden was on top of the recess swings and just a dangling, and I knew I wouldn't see him again. Like, boy, if you don't get the hell away from me. You scraped your knee on the sidewalk coming in from recess because you're clumsy.
Right.
Okay.
And boy, he's gotten a lot better. But what I do, that brings me to my question. So I know some people have been wanting to know more about us, or they've made comments that they liked it when they had heard how we like first met and stuff like that. So they want to hear little things. So that's my question. Here's my question to you to get a little bit about you. What is your craziest like injury? How did you get it?
Oh, child, that is a good question, and that's a good story actually. So I think this was between my 8th and 9th grade year. I was going to high school, and my cousin and I, we grew up like brothers. So we were very adventurous. I grew up in the country, so we were always out in the woods. We was always on bikes. We was always with a shovel in our hand or an axe in our hand, chopping down little trees and stuff. If you look at me now, you would be like, but your boy was out here. I mean, digging worms out the ground, getting frogs as pets. Like we was out here in them country streets. So we stayed on bikes 24/7. If we weren't on a scooter, if we weren't on a little crotch rocket, that we got when we were older, we was on bikes. So, it was just a regular summer day. We ain't had shit to do. And we riding bikes or whatever. And we had built a ramp. It was two cinder blocks, two or three cinder blocks stacked on top of each other, a couple of 2x4s, and then there was a plank board over top of that, just real flat kind of, sheet. So we were like, oh, we want to do tricks. Like, we think we big, we think we bad, whatever. So my cousin had like a BMX type bike, and I had a mountain bike. So the way the setup was, my aunt and my grandparents lived beside each other.
Yeah.
And Crystal has been by my grandparents' house. There's a good distance between those houses. So we started at my grandparents have kind of a U-shaped driveway to the left of their house, but the driveway wraps around the back of their house and connects to my aunt's driveway to the right if you're looking at the house. So it's a pretty big, long driveway. So we set up at the very, very far end of one driveway, and about like 3/4, essentially all the way to the other driveway. But we just leave a little space on the other side to land, right? So my cousin like, oh yeah, we finna do this. This finna be so cool, like da 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 da. So this is my cousin's idea, right? And if he's watching this, This is on you. I almost said something. I almost
I
said.
I
Almost got a little too comfortable. Oops.
I peeped it.
Look, it really almost getting. Anyway, you know what you did. So, he was talking all this shit. He was so ready. We was ready to go. Da, 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 da. He was supposed to go first because this was his idea. So we get to the other driveway. All of a sudden, he's talking about, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go. I look at him and I was like, stop being a bitch. Word for word. So I'm like, fine, I'll go. I'm the oldest. I'm the older cousin. So I take off. I'm going. Boy, when I tell you them little legs was working, I was getting ready. I was like, I'm getting fit. I'm getting ready. I'm finna be running track in high school, whatever. You don't matter. Da, da, da. So I'm going on the bike. I get to the ramp. I just know I'm finna clear it, right? I go off the ramp. I'm in the air. Baby, it's good. I feel like I'm in orbit. Have y'all ever watched a cartoon and you see something go into orbit and it makes that turn back to Earth? That's what my body did. My body made a 90-degree turn mid-air straight back down to Earth. So the front of my bike goes from facing straight out into the sky to facing straight down towards the Earth. And instinctively, I put my arms out to catch myself. Now, mind you, I don't remember anything from the point of me being in the sky and turning down to when I got off the ground. I don't know what happened in between then. The only thing that I remember is I got up off the ground and my arm, I don't know if you can see it. You see a little hump right there? My arm from here down was hanging 90 degrees. Hanging 90 degrees. So I had to pick my hand in my wrist, in my arm segment up. And I was just talking about this the other day. I don't remember feeling any pain or anything. I just remember that this whole section from here down was disconnected. And I went into my aunt's house and I sat on the couch. And the first thing that I said out of my mouth, because everybody around me was freaking out, I'm silent. I'm not saying anything. I sit down on her couch and I said in the most pitiable voice, "Can I get some Kool-Aid?"
Because priorities.
I said, "Can I get some Kool-Aid?" And they sure did get me a big ass cup of grape Kool-Aid. And I set my arm, broken ass arm, on the arm of the couch. And I sipped on my Kool-Aid. My aunt called my mom. I swear, my mother worked at least 20 minutes away from where my aunt lives. She was there in like 6 minutes. I don't know how that lady did it. I just remember I didn't even get halfway through my Kool-Aid and she was running up the steps, took me by the shoulder and took me to the hospital where they patched me up. And I think it was maybe a day or two later I had to go to the other doctor who does all the bone stuff. And that was back in the day. So they were like, listen, either we can do surgery and put it back in place, or we can put the cast on. You can bite this cloth covered stick and we could set it while the cast is still wet. And I opted for the second one because I was like, y'all ain't finna. I was scared of surgery, so I was like, I'm a bite through this stick as hard as I can, and that's exactly what I did. And that's the I've had plenty of injuries, broken fingers, broken feet, everything, but that's the craziest injury that I've had.
I actually haven't had too many injuries, but the worst one I got, I want to say I was like 4 or 5. It was on this finger. I don't think you can really see it, but this finger is different than this finger. Like it's a little, you can't really see it because of nail
Oh.
polish, but it's a little more rounded.
Mm.
Um, and there's like a little indent right here because this is where I more or less chopped off the finger.
Oh.
So we were living in Guam.
Mm.
And I really want to say I had just gotten in trouble. Like, I think I was upset about something. And we lived in this cul-de-sac, and right by our house was this old playground. And so I was down there. I think I was sniffling whatever. There was this old seesaw, and I was just sitting there in the middle, just pushing it back and forth while talking to one of my little friends. And
Ooh.
at some point, I like paused, and I guess I stuck this finger
Ooh.
in the middle of the like thing and pushed it down. I don't remember like it happening. I don't remember screaming or hollering. My mom says that she heard me because we were having a barbecue. Like the neighbors were I think we were pretty close with like our general neighbors. So like everyone was just out in the cul-de-sac. And I do remember, what I remember was it already happening. I don't remember being in pain, but I was crying. I remember holding my hand up and my eyes were filled with tears, so it was blurry. And I remember crying and looking at my finger and seeing white and thinking to myself, I think that's my bone. Like, I think that's my
Oh.
bone and I want to see. So I'm trying to wipe my eyes as I'm walking so that I could see it. But before I could actually see it, like my mom scooped me up, and like I never got to see my hand again after that. She like gave me to a neighbor because she was freaking out. Like she couldn't handle it. I guess my finger wasn't completely, because it was hanging by a little tiny string. So they like scooped it up. They called 911. The neighbor was the one who was holding me. They gave me my favorite blanket. My mom's crying. I'm looking at my mom. I'm like all of 5 years old. And I'm like, Mama, don't cry. It's okay. And she's just bawling. I got to ride in the ambulance, which I thought was cool at the time. Like at that point, I wasn't even aware of what was really going on with my hand. Like I still don't remember feeling any pain. I was just like, oh, Mom, look at the lights. It's pretty lights, you know? And we went to the hospital. I guess at some point they needed to numb my hand. And in order to do that, or my finger, in order to attach it, in order to do that, they had to. So they told my mom to lay on top of me so that I wouldn't move. So she's all to pieces laying on top of her poor little baby girl, trying to, who's getting this shot. I don't remember any of that. What I do remember is they offered me ice cream, and I was like, chocolate. I want chocolate. And they were like, oh, well, we have vanilla. And I was like, vanilla? Fine. And so my mom gave me the ice cream, and then I fell asleep. That was a very special ice cream. So I know for a few weeks after that, people were coming out constantly wanting to see my finger, like, because Guam, it isn't a big island, or at least where we were at. And I think what they ended up doing was they ended up having to replace all of the seesaws because these were old seesaws. They ended up having to like replace all the seesaws that were like that on the island to like update them or whatever. So people were constantly coming out to see me, wanting to see my
seesaws.
Yes.
real steel,
Yeah. But
Back when
yeah, that
kids got
was
decapitated and it was a casualty of play,
so, seesaws, wild boars, Guam was a good time.
You know what?
Yeah.
I have met so many in my life and time. So many military kids who have been stationed in Guam. Like, what is it with the military kid to Guam pipeline?
I
Does
think
every military kid go through Guam at some time in their life?
I don't think they necessarily, but I
Guam
do
or
think
Germany?
I think Guam is like a big military area. I want to say I've
Mm-hmm.
never really researched it, but yeah, I think that's a big military area.
It's so wild. Like
Mm-hmm.
every military kid that I know has either lived in Guam or Germany, or they were born in Germany or something like that. Like I have
Yeah.
so many friends who have either lived in Germany with their military parents or were born in
Right.
Germany with their
Yeah.
military parents.
Yeah, I knew someone like that too.
So crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I am glad that, everything is back attached the
Mhm.
way that it should be for you, Crystal.
Yes, you can't really
I
tell. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, other
Like,
than the fact that, it hooks, a little yeah, got a little bit of a hook to it, but,
y'all
other
TikTok
than that.
people, Timmy isn't on TikTok. You're allowed to talk as much shit you want to him. He's not gonna know.
And you know what? You're exactly right. I can't even rebut that because I will literally never know.
No,
Dang.
knowing my luck, TikTok's gonna be like, well, it is a little fucking crooked, Crystal. Like, you do got a little
Right.
hook finger there.
Listen, let's not Mieta her again. Okay, let's not do that. Okay, because I might join TikTok and get cussing y'all out. I like the box in the comments. I like the box in the comments. Okay, so are you ready for the main attraction?
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna say this every time we take a lot of time to get to the stories. I'm hearing my mother get to the story.
Because
Get
I
to the
was fighting the
story.
urge to say something about the fact that your mom is sick of us.
I
Okay,
know.
she's ready to get to the
At
shit.
this point, I don't even
Okay,
know if she pays attention to the stories anymore, like the episodes anymore.
for real, she probably like, you know what? They
Mm-mm.
lost me.
So we're moving on to my story. So I have a news
Oh,
story.
yes.
This is not a Reddit story.
Ready?
A friend of mine actually sent this to me.
Mhm.
I'm going to name this segment "A Moment in History." It's not a long story. I will say that much. But she sent me this story, and I don't remember this at all. I think I was about 14, probably, when it happened, but I don't remember any of this. This happened back in 2004. This year will be its 20th year anniversary. God, 20th year. We're
That
so
is so
old.
crazy to think that I was in elementary school at that time. You must have
Mm.
been like in eighth grade. Or something.
Yeah, I think I was in 8th grade. I was in middle school. You're right.
You are
You're right.
lying to me. You were not in no eighth grade in 2004.
Yeah, because my brother graduated in 2007. I was going into high school. So, yeah, I was in 8th grade, I think.
You are lying to me, Crystal.
Mm.
In the eighth grade, you were not that much older than me, are you?
Yeah. No, well, no, I'm not that much older than you, but yeah, I was in 8th grade.
Because I was either ending my fourth grade year or beginning my fifth grade year.
I'm either ending my 8th grade year or I'm beginning my 9th grade year, which is my freshman year in high school.
Not you was in high school and I was in elementary. Okay, anyway. Yeah, that just blew my mind. That was a whole joke. And you was like, yeah,
Yeah, we're not going to make fun of my age. I'm not going to let you.
damn. Okay.
Anyways, so I am I don't know if I should give it a disclaimer for this, but this is maybe not for the faint of heart. I don't know. Anyways, here are the facts. This is known as the Kinzie Street Bridge. Some of you guys might have seen this already, might have heard. I guess every year it tends to go viral around the dates because of what happened. I don't know where I've been for the past 20 years, but I don't remember any of this. So this is called the Kinzie Street Bridge incident. Here are the facts, the relevant facts. During the warmer months, the Chicago Architecture Center offers a boat tour of the buildings along the Chicago River. And the boats have open roof seating. So passengers during the tour can sit, whether they want to sit inside or they want to be outside in the open air, seeing these beautiful architectures of Chicago along the river. Here's the other relevant information. Most Chicago bridges feature riveted grating. It's used for its strength and anti-slip properties. It allows for rain, snow, and other liquids to pass through it, so it removes the need for any sort of complicated drainage system or to have to salt the bridge deck during snow, and ensures it does not ice over in the wintry months, which, I'm assuming the Chicago area, that's probably a really good idea. So this incident took place on August 8th, 2004. The Chicago's Little Lady was hosting a 1 p.m. Architecture Foundation tour of the Chicago River. About 20 minutes into the tour, it was about to go under the Kinsey Street Bridge. Also relevant information. At the same time, during this incident, the Dave Matthews Band was doing a 2-day concert. And this was in between those 2 days. So the band had booked 5 buses for its shows, and a man, Stephen Wool, drove the bus of the band's violinist, Boyd Tinsley. So about 1:18-ish, about 20 minutes, like I said, 20 minutes into this tour, the Chicago Little Lady is approaching under this bridge. At the same time, the Stephen, I think his name's Stephen Wool is driving the tour bus across this bridge. He is by himself, by the way. Nobody is on the bus with him. And he decides to dump the black water tank at that moment of the bus. So
oh my God.
He dumped 800 pounds of human waste across this bridge. Roughly 2/3 of the 120 passengers aboard the tour boat were soaked.
My God.
The liquid waste was brownish yellow in color, had a foul, offensive odor, and it got into passengers' eyes, mouths, hair, and onto clothing and personal belongings, many of which were soaked. Some of the passengers suffered nausea and vomiting as a result of the exposure to the human waste. Of course, once this happened, the Chicago Little Lady immediately went right back to the docks. They refunded everybody their money. People were taken to the hospital, but no one, other than like nausea and stuff like that, no one suffered any lasting effects or anything like that, other than trauma, obviously. The Dave Matthews Band originally denied it was one of their tour buses because they were told that all 5 of their buses were sitting and parked outside of the hotel or arena or something like that at the time of the incident, because who's going to admit to that? However, this is a very public bridge. There are cameras. And so when faced with the evidence, Stephen Wool finally admitted that he was the one to dump the waste on this group of people. Mind you, this was a 1 p.m. tour. The Chicago Little Lady, when they got back to the docks, they cleaned up their boat just in time for their 3 p.m. tour. In the aftermath, it was, I don't think anyone was given any sort of like jail time or anything like that. Wool pleaded guilty to reckless conduct in discharging contaminants to cause water pollution. I want to say he got community service, like 150 hours of community service. He was on an 18-month probation. He was fined $10,000 to be paid to the Friends of the Chicago River. The Dave Matthews Band donated $50,000 to the Chicago Park District and $50,000 to the Friends of the Chicago River, and paid the state of Illinois $200,000 in settlements. I don't think any of the actual human victims got anything or whatever, but I guess this goes viral every year. And last year in particular, they got a plaque to memorialize this incident.
Memorialize them getting shit dumped on their head. I can't. If I was one of the victims, I would be so mad if somebody put the fact that I got shitted on a plaque. That's you. Like, literally, Nicki Minaj back in the day had a song that went shitted on them. Yeah, I just shitted on them. Put your number 2s in the air if you shitted on them. That's crazy. Number one, I am so happy that, because the first thing that I was going to say was charges need to be filed. If somebody don't go to prison, somebody need to go to jail. Okay. somebody need to be behind bars for this. I'm glad that a whole bunch of money had to be spent and that there was probation involved for the guilty party. As far as the people that are on board, I couldn't imagine. I would have been like, rip this seat off the boat, tie it to my ankle, and throw me to the bottom of the ocean. Because I'm no more good. Throw the whole body away. There is no amount of clean. It went in my eyes. And did you say 800 or 80 pounds?
800 pounds of human waste.
Who is doodling that? These are some shitty booty boys. Okay? The Dave Matthews Band are some shitty booty boys. I want y'all to understand that. 800 pounds of doodle is crazy.
Yeah.
When is the last time y'all dumped it out? Why does the bus even carry 800 pounds of doo-doo? The gas consumption got to be crazy.
Can you imagine the relief you felt to be that? Because, you know, there's an open roof. You know, the people that are like, yay, let's go up top. And you're like, nah, it's cold. We can see out this window. We're staying here. You imagine the relief. They're like, aren't you glad I made you stay inside?
I hope that y'all caught the double entendre that Crystal just did. The relief.
I will say, I'm surprised they did the plaque last year. Like, this year is going to be this 20th anniversary. I'm surprised they didn't do it this year.
I've never heard of it in my life. My entire life. I've never heard of.
It goes viral every August, I guess. And I mean, we're not. Well, yeah, we are. We're kind of far from August. I don't know. My friend was the one who showed me. She saw a TikTok about it, and she was like, "You have to talk about this incident." I'm like, "When did this happen?" And I saw 2004. I'm like, I don't remember any of this.
Dump 800 pounds of doodoo into a river.
Yeah,
like I can't. That's back when people used to throw their McDonald's bags out the window. You remember that? That was a terrible time in America. People used to litter. So for you Gen Z kids out there, people used to litter so bad. Like, for no reason. They would just they could carry a glass cup out of the house into the car and get down the road, sip out of it. If it's empty, they're throwing it out the window. Like, that's how they treated the earth back then. It was crazy. I'm glad it seems that we have gotten past that. People have discovered trash receptacles in the sort. But wow, that's crazy, Kristen.
It's definitely going to make you think twice about sitting in those open seats going under any sort of bridge, aren't you?
I did. For some reason, I was thinking that it was enclosed. It wasn't until you said that he released the doodle. I was like, oh, it had to be open. It had to be open. That's correct.
It was open.
And I have taken those cruises in various countries. I like a boat cruise in
I was
cities.
about to say, you know what? I think this is something that you really only have to worry about in the States. Because we would.
Oh, yeah.
We would think about that. We would be like, yeah, this is fine. The grate's open. The water's underneath. I'm just going to dump this stuff now.
And it's
Save
crazy
myself
as it
a trip.
is, I don't think I've ever taken a boat tour in the U.S. It's always been abroad.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. I think it's always been abroad too.
Because who want to get on a river? Like, bitch, we see rivers all the time. They murky, they dirty, you know what I'm saying?
It was the architecture. You were supposed to enjoy the buildings. That's why they were looking up.
Isn't the river in Chicago the same one that they turned green for St. Patrick's Day? Is that Chicago?
I don't know.
Have you ever heard of that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I think it might be. But I
have to look that up. Anyways.
Well, thank you for sharing that
little bit of history there.
That little bit of history. What are we calling that segment again? A moment in history?
A moment in history.
A moment in history. I like that. Is that 2 weeks in a row? No, that's that. Okay, it's been you and Doodoo lately. What's up with you in these shitty situations? What's going on there, Crystal? What's going on there?
Just
Let's
finds
explore
me.
that. Let's
Just
explore
finds
that.
me, I guess. I don't know.
It just finds you.
It
Wow.
does.
Wow. Okay, y'all. Well, I have something else for us. By way of Reddit, if that's okay with you. Is that okay with you, Crystal?
That's okay with me.
That's okay with you. I'm so
Oh.
glad to hear it. This one comes by way of the subreddit r/petty revenge. Yeah, yeah. I chose these specifically for Crystal audience. I know that this show is supposed to be for y'all, but I do the show for Crystal. Okay, I just want y'all to understand that if y'all get something out of it, cool. But this show is for Crystal. Okay, this one is entitled Parker parked in my driveway, so I blocked them in and got drunk all weekend. Here we go. Friday night, I came home from work to find someone on our block who was having a large party, and someone decided they were entitled to park in my driveway. Keep in mind, my driveway is a single car width lined with a retaining wall on both sides and a garage at the end. Essentially impossible for a tow truck to come pull them out without property damage. Seeing this and the lack of street parking, I took this as a cue to park right behind them in my driveway. Now, a few hours go by, and the entitled Parker is now knocking at my door demanding I move the car so she can leave. Seeing as they were demanding, I informed them that I had been drinking and I would not move my car. The entitled Parker then decides to call the police to get them to force me to move. When the police knocked on my door, I was sure to grab a beer from the refrigerator before I answered to talk to the police. I had informed him that after I got home, I was unwinding and had been drinking, and I was in no shape to drive. At this point, their hands were tied because they couldn't tow her car out. I'm in no shape to drive, and I'm legally parked in my driveway. I end up telling the entitled Parker that since it is a long weekend, I would be on a weekend long bender and they could come move their car when I go to work on Tuesday morning. Boom. I know you appreciate this.
Look, I keep telling you, I love a good fairy tale. Like,
You gonna keep on with this fairy tale shit. I swear for God.
I'm sorry. That's what you get. Like, that's
Yeah.
what you get. Too many of y'all, like, you will refuse to walk any sort of distance. You will rather, like, inconvenience someone else so that you don't have to walk that little bit extra. Like, that's not my problem. You parked there, fine. That was at your own risk. But he just happened to be smarter in the fact that instead of him finding a he just parked behind you. He's like, cool, you can stay there. And you know what? I'm sure you're still talking about it to this day as if you're the victim.
Oh,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Can you imagine? Every time she gets drunk with her friend, she's like, and can you believe that there was that guy that time that blocked me in? Like, I had to sleep in my car. Like, you're a homeless person. Like, I can just
all they had to do is just move it. No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You're here all weekend. You're here all weekend. Congratulations. You played yourself.
Yes. So I'm not mad about it. I applaud him for thinking that, for not getting angry, for who was like, you know what? They can stay. They can stay. I'm going to have a nice long bender and make it impossible for me to be able to move my car.
And then so I applaud them. That you get them for trespassing on Tuesday morning when they come get their car with the tow truck. Had the police there, to give her the papers for her trespassing on his property the whole weekend.
Right, and
listen
to the neighbors. This all probably could have been avoided if you had just invited them.
Eh,
Maybe just
I
invite them
mean,
to the party next time.
it could have been a good time.
And they would have been like,
Everybody could have got along.
do you guys need my driveway? I've got space for at least one other car.
Can you imagine going to your friend's house for a party and just parking in a whole nother home?
No.
Like drive
I don't understand that mentality.
with
Like
the retaining walls up.
mhm.
Like you are trapped in there.
Like I saw someone's house and was like, oh, that's empty. Yeah, we'll just park here. That's cool.
And I would just go to this party for hours.
Right. Like I know these people and I know that they're never going to be home. Like, or I know this house is empty. No, you're coming to your friend's house. So, and you just decide to park in someone else's very clearly their driveway, essentially. You know,
Yeah.
not just their parking, their driveway, essentially.
Yeah.
No, you got what you
And I
deserved.
know that they called their friend when they got there and was like, girl, ain't no parking out here, bitch. Like, what can I do? And they was like, oh, park in my neighbor's driveway. They're never home. And
you'll
now
be
my
gone
shit-
before they get back.
And it's a long weekend too. And you gotta go to work on Monday morning. What you supposed to do? Oh my god. This is you know what? I don't usually go up for these stories, but this is delectable. Okay. Cause this is
I'm for it.
good.
That made me happy.
Well,
Thank you for that.
I am absolutely for it. Now, Krista, I think we still got a little bit of time.
Got a little bit of time? All right.
Before we got to get up out of here. So I wanted to kind of do something, if I can, on the fly, if my fingers are fast enough, because we had a story on last episode that seemed to have gotten a lot of attention, and it seems to be dealing with the story that you shared about the sister-in-law who served her, the poster who served her sister-in-law a meal on a child's plate because she was breaking up her good china.
Yes.
That video over the past week seems to have gotten a lot of attention. And I think it's time that we've been saying for weeks now that we are going to start sharing some comments. So I'm going to try to share some comments on the fly. I have not picked these out. I'm going to try to share them with y'all. So hopefully this goes well and it translates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't have anything.
Yeah. And neither do I. So just to remind y'all again, the original poster had this china that she got from her deceased grandmother, very special to her. The sister-in-law would come over for dinner. All of a sudden, each time she came over, china would just be broken. Every piece of china that she had, she would break a plate here, break a dish there, so on and so forth for like a year and a half. The original poster catches, the sister-in-law on tape after getting a camera. Sister-in-law tries to deny it. She shows everybody at the dinner that the sister-in-law did it. Sister-in-law is embarrassed, swipes the kid's plate off the table. Which, girl, come on. And then, the husband's side of the family is mad at the original poster. And she like, girl, fuck that bitch.
Well, actually, it's mainly the husband. Her in-laws were actually on her side.
Oh, that's right. That's
right.
They
and were offering to pay for it, but she didn't.
It was
she
the
didn't want
husband, the brother-in-law, and the sister-in-law that were salty with the original poster. The general sentiment is that the original poster was not in the wrong for handling the situation the way that she did. So I'm going to share some comments of what people said. Dawn said, demand she pay the cost and replace the china and stop inviting her to your family dinners. That's along the lines of where I was at.
You know what?
She shouldn't have been invited past the second time she broke a dish.
And that's where a lot of people are at in the comments. Like the one consensus they got is, why are you still inviting her to these dinners? And that's, I guess in some case, because like the first couple of times it happened, because they only have dinner once a month. So like the first 2 months this happened, she was still trying to chalk it up to an accident. By the third time, she was catching on but didn't know how to approach it because she had talked to her husband about it and he just brushed it off too, like it was an accident. And then the
Mm-hmm.
fourth time, her mom was the one who was like, this ain't an accident. I think she's doing it on purpose. And she was the one who gave her the camera. So I guess I can kind of see in the timeline and the scheme of things why she didn't just, you know, because it's one thing if this is a weekly dinner. Yeah, real quick, you probably were like, you know what? But because this is once a month, like weeks go by, you forget about things. You don't think about it until it's happening in the
Exactly.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of see why she didn't just not invite her. But I definitely wouldn't have been giving her, you know, after the first couple times, any of my fine china had been broken. I would have been like, you know what, maybe this family,
Child.
because I would have been lumping
Mm-hmm.
them together. I would have been like, maybe this family just can't be eating on these plates.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, maybe.
So I have a couple more I want to share.
Yeah.
Debbie says, you and your husband are the asshole for allowing her to break so many dishes.
I agree.
The first one could be an accident, but after the next instance, stop using the china.
Mhm.
Dollar store has ceramic plates. Use those or paper. I couldn't agree more.
You said that. You said that.
I can't agree more. Chris said, nope, would have given her paper plates and billed her for the broken china. Chris, I am 100,000% with you. Somebody said, not the asshole. Email that video to everyone on your in-law side. I'm with it. Shame her.
She did say, like, I guess the boyfriend reached out to her after the happened and was like, can you please apologize to her because she's really upset? And her response was just to email. She just sent him the video and he left it on red. So I guess every time they try to reach out to him, like, she just sends the video.
Yep. Because I love the fact that when the brother-in-law reached out to her, she just responded with the video. That's anytime, like Chris said, anytime they bring that lady up, just send that video.
Just send the video.
Just send it. Be like, I'm not having a discussion. I think the last comment I'm going to share is from Mauri, Mauri. Is that Mauri? Maury. Somebody said, you're not the asshole for calling out your sister-in-law for her behavior, but you might be the asshole for allowing that woman back into your home after you had proof that she was deliberately breaking your dishes. Fine china is valuable, and the very idea that a guest, much less a family member, in your home will go so far as to do something like this is vicious. I would not want her anywhere near me or my children, and definitely not in my home. I agree.
Yeah.
After that second, you would have had one time for it to be an accident and the second time for it to be your ass. Okay? Because after that second time, you're not coming back over here for dinner. You're not coming back over here for dinner. I'm not really. We may go to the soccer game together, but you sitting on one side and I'm sitting on the other. Because if we cross paths, you got one time to even look at me crazy, and it's up and it's stuck.
Yeah, for me, it definitely would have been at least when I saw the video evidence of the very clear, like, oh, they're gone, plate on the floor. Like when it was obvious that she very deliberately broke this plate on purpose. Like I understand why some people were like, you're the asshole because you kept this information until the next time and then presented it. Other people were like, I was all for you doing all that you did except for when you gave her the sippy cup. That's where it was like, for some people, they drew the line. They were like, that's where you might be the asshole, or you're probably asshole. It's, you know, different people. Different people are going to respond to these situations. I don't know if I would have thought of even getting the child's plate and the sippy cup and all that stuff and been all like, you know, if you want to act like a child, I'm going to treat you like a child. There definitely would have been a confrontation though. Me and you, we would have been talking. This video would have been presented to family members like, hey, you mind explaining something? And then showing this video or something like that. But yeah, I love a good petty revenge. So, you know, I'm not mad at it.
Uh, sorry, I had to clear my throat. Lord Jesus. I was trying to find another comment from our other story that dealt with. Oh, I found it. Okay, here we go. There was our other story from our last episode that dealt with the young lady who was sharing a room with her siblings while her uh I guess step sibling, her little sister,
Yeah,
had her own room
her
and the parents
stepsister.
treating her terribly. She ended up
Mm-hmm.
getting treated very well by her friend's family and got a bunch of things. They treated her real nice and she ended up staying with them. And the dad of the other family ended up calling CPS on her family. And the parents were mad at her for that. I just wanted to mention one thing because this person very much confused me. It was a small thread on the Facebook where someone said that they thought that this story was fake because they didn't believe that CPS would let her stay um, with a friend if they took her out of the home. And, I politely pointed out to the person, that the original poster didn't say that CPS took her out of the home. She just said that she was staying with the friend, and we can assume that's because the parents were upset with her and it wasn't a good environment for her to be in the first place, if we're being honest. Okay. And the fact that the parents let her go stay with them lets you know they really give a damn about their child. They were probably happy to have her gone. Um, and you know what? I just saw that this person replied to my response in this thread, and we're about to get them live. So I'm not gonna say their name because I don't want to put their business out there. But they said I think it's fake because why would male and female kids be going to the same cooking camp? Now, for context, the dad picked her up in the story to take her and the friend to cooking camp together. And that's when he found out that, everything that transpired in that story transpired. If you want the full story, go back to last episode. They said also, why would another parent take in a girl? I said, question mark, question mark, question mark. Why would a cooking camp be based on gender? Let's stop there. Let's stop there. Because you sound real crazy. When have you ever, I don't know of any camp that is based on sex. I don't know of any. Unless it's like a young senators camp or something like that. Maybe that is based on sex because, it has to do with politics and, when you get up to that level, things are real fucked up, sexist, whatever, whatever. But as far as a children's camp, because this child, I believe, is 13 in this letter. When have you ever heard of a 13-year-old camp being separated by sex unless it comes to sleeping arrangements?
Right.
Why can't they go to a cooking camp together if they're a boy and a girl?
Yeah, I didn't understand. I saw this thread as well because I think when I saw his response, all I did was put a laughing emoji. Because I didn't understand what they were saying either. Like I don't know. Maybe they're very religious. Maybe everything for them in their life was very separated. And
Yeah.
going to a camp, they went to an all boys and an all girls camp. Like there are schools that are like that. But generally, as far as I know, and as far as I grew up, the camps that I went to, they were co-ed. Yeah, we slept in an all girls cabin and boys slept in an all boys cabin. But when we came to play games, we came to interact with each other, it was all together. It wasn't
Y'all remember
separated.
4-H camp?
That's what it was. 4-H camp. That's what I went to. Yeah.
Come on. Like
So
in a cooking camp specifically?
I don't know if you're trying to say something about the fact that it was a cooking camp. Like
And you know what? That's where I thought he was going. I think he was trying to be cute, saying that cooking camp should only be for women. And if that's the case, you can chew rocks. So I continue and I said, also, if you knew that a child was in a bad home situation and needed a safe place to stay, would you not take in that child because it's a girl? To which they replied, and it's the first time that I'm seeing this reply, because I don't go back to these things except for now when I'm sharing it with you all. They say, you're asking me what I find as believable. I already said my piece. Let me tell you something. Never mind. I'm gonna let you cook. I'm gonna let you survive on these Facebook streets another day. And we gonna go on about our business. Cause I ain't even finna give you all that. Just know that I am on y'all ass in these comments. Okay. If you want to end up on a Tea and Crystal's podcast, I ain't mention this man's name. But the next person that get to cutting up in them comments like that. Cause you could say, little things to disagree, whatever. Ageist things, even though I tried Crystal today. Ageist things, sexist things, homophobic things, racist things, ableist things. Let me tell you something. That's a pillar of 5 that we don't play about on this podcast. Okay? It will get you cussed out and it will get you blocked. That's not the type of platform that we have over here. So please do not come over here playing like that. Because you will get the smoke every single time.
You know what? And the fact that he responded the way they responded, he or she, I don't even know. I can't remember what their handler name was. But like, it's those responses that show that they didn't really have a response to come back to. It was like a non-response. Like I said what I needed to say. Like, how you gonna ask me about my beliefs? Like, what, whatever. But with that being said, it does bring up another comment. 1, these stories are from the internet. Shockingly, not everything on the internet is true. We do not vet or verify if these stories are true because we're not in contact with the OPs. Now, if we get stories that are coming into our emails, like that's one thing, but even then, because we're in contact with the person who's actually writing us, but even then, we're never going to truly know unless there's like a true crime thing where there's like a news report and there's a paper trail we can follow. We're never going to truly know if the stories are real or not. But that doesn't mean that these situations aren't real, because all you have to do is go into these comments and see the amount of people who hear these stories and are like, you know what, that happened to me, or I'm going through something similar, and they'll tell their stories. So, this is all in good fun. It's all, it's something that we're just enjoying. It's fun to pick it apart, to see how you would react in certain situations and do things in certain situations. Try to see it that way. Don't focus so much on if the story is real or not. If you want to know if the story is real, go in the comments. There's going to be there's plenty of people who are like, oh, I'm going through something similar, and you'll find a story that's similar in nature, and you can choose to believe that person if you want to.
And if you don't believe us, go on the YouTube, go on the Facebook, go on the TikTok, go on the Instagram, look at these comment sections for these stories. There are whole threads on each of those platforms full of people who would say, I went through something similar. That happened to me. Like,
you know what, Timmy? We are running out of time. We will save this for the next episode. But just to reiterate, we do not vet these stories. We find them same as you. It's just for our enjoyment. And we do hope that ultimately, at the end of the day, whether or not it makes you mad, makes you happy, makes you sad, that you ultimately do enjoy this. So.
Yes, we are here to have a good time. And speaking of having a good time, I hope that you all had a good time with us here on the Tea and Crystal podcast today. Crystal and I had such an easy and enjoyable time recording this episode today. Maybe we'll release some behind the scenes stuff, down the road, but we are limping to the finish line. I just want to let y'all know. So thank you.
I'm going to let you guys know. If you happen to see it, just a quick cut in the videos, like 4 of them, you'll know why. Anyways,
we are fighting for our lives.
let's wrap this up.
Yes. Thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of the Tea and Crystals podcast. If you like what you heard, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening. If you like what you saw, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. If you have any questions, comments, or you would like to share your story with us, you can do so at teaandcrystal@gmail.com. That is teaandcrystal@gmail.com. We would love to hear anything that you have to say, anything that you would like to hear in the future. We twisted up on this episode, so we would really like y'all feedback to let us know. Do you like what we changed? Do you like what we did? Do you like the new things that we're trying? We're very excited to hear from you all. If you would like to subscribe on YouTube or follow us on the Facebook, you can do that by searching Tea and Crystals podcast on either of those platforms. Make sure you follow us on the TikTok. The TikTok has been booming over the past week, so please go join the booming sensation over there at Tea and Crystals podcast, and also go over to the Instagram, which is also doing its thing. We are so excited that that is happening, and you can find us on Instagram at Tea and Crystals pod. Now, Crystal, do you have anything to say to the people before we get the fuck up out of here finally?
No, I I always say no and then I always say something. I don't have anything new to say. I hope you guys did enjoy the episode. Like Timmy says, if you have any thoughts, feelings, let us know how you liked this segment. Did you like the fact that there was a little bit different stories other than just Reddit stuff? Did you like the moment in history? Do you want to see more of that stuff? Just thoughts and opinions, because like we said, we would love to continue to evolve. Definitely follow our socials. Like he said, our TikTok especially has been going up, and we're definitely going to start to personalize things a little bit more. I mean, Timmy isn't on the TikTok, I am, but you might see some videos up there that aren't necessarily to do with our episode stories. So things are changing. We're like we said, we're evolving. But thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode. We hope to see you again next week. And bye.
See y'all next time. Bye, y'all.